Charizard makes a depart in Dragon Claw. Obstagoon leaves absolutely loaded. Out comes Swampert. We full send the Hyper Beam. Does the opponent respect the damage? Welcome back to the channel. Channel regular, my good friend Ty, is back at it. And he submitted a team today that he called Nuke Squad. What you're looking at currently on the screen is PV Poke. I've gone to charge moves and I've assorted them with the hardest hitting move at the top. In the game currently, aeroblast is the hardest hitting move. So of course on Nuke Squad, we're going to have to run Lugia. Not just any Lugia, this is a Shadow Apex Lugia. That's going to get 20% more damage. It's going to be absurd. We're going to have Obstagoon in the lead, running Hyper Beam, another Hail Mary. Rounding the team off, we're going to have Pidgeot, of course with that nuke of Brave Bird. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, we see some very nice spice from the opponent, repping Hippowdon. Hippowdon does have access to Rock-type Weather Ball, amongst some other moves like Body Slam and Earth Power. We stay in. We're likely going to pivot at some stage, as we are on an ABB team with double flyers. We bank the Hyper Beam, send out Pidgeot. The opponent's already revealed Body Slam, throwing it at Obstagoon, so it's a pretty safe assumption that they've probably got Earth Power as a second move. The opponent once again fire off a Body Slam. Pidgeot withstands the damage. The opponent already at another Body Slam. This Hippo, pretty spammy Pidgeot now. Into the red tie, farms up to maximum energy. Full sends the Brave Bird. Get that Hippowdon out of here. Pidgeot very low in the red, but the opponent sends out Swampert, which can have a tough task of mud-shotting down a flyer. We full send Brave Bird. Number 2, forcing a protection. The opponent continuing to look for that mud shot farm down. So we go for the wham, bam combo play. Full send the Hyper Beam. Oof. Forcing the final Protect Shield. Ty has a 2-0 shield advantage, and it looks like he's putting all his hopes and dreams on the back of Lugia. We survive the Hydro Cannon. Swampert opts to throw Hydro Cannon. Number 2, we now send out Lugia. The opponent's final Pokemon is Venusaur. And you already know how this one's going to go. Lugia still not interested in shielding. The opponent fire off the Frenzy Plant. We easily withstand the damage. Ty continuing to farm up. The opponent really hoping for a miracle. And no miracle will be had today. As Ty looks like he's going for the very nice 2 shield flex. We farm up once again to almost maximum energy. Fire off the Sky Attack. We go for the undercharge. Getting one more Dragon Tail. Swampert again, not going to be able to mud-shot farm down, and they're going to get vanquished. Back to their Pokeball, the Aeroblast. GG's, and thanks for playing. The moral of the story is you can't shield all the nukes. In the next battle, we see the battle of the Dark types. Obstagoon very favoured in this matchup. The opponent, at worst, can hit for neutral with the last resort. However, now Tentacle is very common. Oof, it looks like the opponent might actually have Psychic. Ty knows he easily survives numerous resisted foul plays. The opponent must be ABA weak. There's no other reason to stay in. One Hyper Beam won't be lethal due to Umbreon having 6 million HP. Ty throws a Night Slash, fishing for the boost. We don't see any boost. Umbreon now very much in Hyper Beam range. We full send the Hyper Beam. Get that Umbreon out of here. Out comes Shadow Machamp. We see the instant pivot into Apex Shadow Lugia, and just look at this Dragon Tail damage. The opponent farming up a boatload of energy. Ty last second invests the Protect Shield, and holy, the opponent also not a fan of baiting as they full send a payback and then send out Nidoqueen. As the opponents now revealed their full team, they're not ABA weak to Obstagoon whatsoever, as both the back 2 Pokemon are very favoured against Obstagoon. So if you're running a team like this opponent, I'd highly recommend pivoting. I'm not sure Nidoqueen or Machamp are particularly good save switches in this meta, but regardless, there was no reason to sack their lead. The opponent opts to invest both shields onto Nidoqueen, hoping that with Lugia out the way, Machamp might be decent against whatever's in the back. However, this opponent might be somewhat sad as we've got Pidgeot. Ty looks to go for the Hyper Beam. We shield the Poison Fang. Anticipate the switch back out. Comes Machamp. The opponent only going to reach a Cross Chop, which is going to be an easy tank for our Menace of a Bird. We're going to get the full Wing Attack farm down leave with the Brave Bird. And Brave Bird, I was going to say, would be massive overkill. However, Ty opts to hit no bubbles. The opponent evidently already has quit the match. But regardless, Ty is going to pick up the dub. GG's to both trainers. Heading into the next battle, we lead Obstagoon into the mirror. A very nice shiny from the opponent. I think shiny Obstagoon is one of my favourite shinies. Ty throws 5 counters, then pivots into Pidgeot, looking to catch a potential Cross Chop. The opponent is indeed running Cross Chop, which is good to know as there's no potential of getting any Hyper Beam landed on us. The opponent then sends out Cresselia. Looks like Ty tried to press Feather Dance, however the game refunded him, probably telling him this is the Nuke Squad. We only send nukes. Ty says sorry game, I forgot, and now he's going to send the Brave Bird. Brave Bird lands for big damage. on Big Bad Bulky Crest and Pidgeot. Says there's plenty more of where that came from. Firing off Brave Bird. Number 2, is Brave Bird enough to knock out? Oof. The opponent survives on 1 HP and a dream. The opponent fire off the Grass Knot, which does secure the knockout. We send out Obstagoon, get the counter farm down. It looks like Ty was trying to pivot, anticipating Obstagoon returning. However, the opponent actually chooses to send out Tentacruel. We land the Night Slash again. We see no boost. Obstagoon's actually really bulky in the Ultra League, so a Scald won't be lethal. The opponent actually bait with an Acid Spray. We withstand the damage. Ty, this time, full sends the Hyper Beam. Does the opponent respect the damage? Holy, that almost one-shots. We snipe with a Dragon Tail. Just Obstagoon does remain, and this should be a pretty straightforward win. I don't even think a boost is going to save the opponent. They fire off the Night Slash. Again, we see no boost. The Dragon Tails are really starting to chunk. I imagine Ty's just going to shield up the next 2 Night Slashes and try and fast move beat down the opponent. The opponent recognising they're going to get fast move beat down, opt to concede the match. Moving on to the next one. Obstagoon into Gliscor, not the best matchup, as due to their flying type in our counters are resisted. Ty builds up to 9 counters, attempts to catch the Earthquake onto Lugia. There's no shot. Holy, the opponent full sends the Earthquake. What a play. The opponent continue to stay in, and it looks like they're looking to chip us with the Night Slash. Night Slash does land, but with non-stab, it doesn't do too much damage. The opponent able to outpace the Night Slash. Number 2, and we're going to see Ty tank it on the chin. Lugia withstands the damage, returns fire with the Sky Attack. Sky Attack forced to protect shield. The opponent now Wing Attack farms all the way down. Ty is going to have to wait out his full clock, because whatever we send out is going to be switch locked, whereas the opponent has the ability to pivot. They bank a charge move. Send out Charizard, and again we full send the Brave Bird. Brave Bird does land near one shot in this Dragon Breath Charizard, and we see the pivot into Obstagoon. Charizard makes it apart in Dragon Claw for the road. Obstagoon gets the counter farm down. The opponent sends out Swampert. We full send the Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam near one shot Swampert, and holy crap, this game is just over. Ty is going to be able to shield once. Counter farm all the way down. What the heck? The opponent threw a Muddy Water. I have no words. Back out comes Gliscor. The opponent is going to need to Earthquake to secure the knockout. The opponent fires off the Night Slash. We easily withstand the damage, despite the opponent being in the red. Once again, we full send the Hyper Beam. The opponent invests that protection. We now pivot out into Pidgeot, and you already know we're about to Brave Bird, despite them being on minimal HP. We easily survive the Night Slash. The opponent makes one further Night Slash, which still isn't going to knock out Ty, absolutely playing with his food. And we're going to get a 1 HP boom and take the dub. GG's, and thanks for playing. Obstagoon into Giratina, a very dominant matchup if they're on Shadow Claw. Pretty neutral if they're on Dragon Breath. The opponent safe switches into Virizion, and we answer with Pidgeot. The opponent only threw 3 double kicks, so I was going to say it's going to be a Sacred Sword, but the opponent actually throws Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade, of course, is resisted due to flying resisting grass. The opponent continuing to go straight Leaf Blade all the way, so I imagine they've probably got Stone Edge, which they should probably be throwing at Pidgeot. Perhaps they have actually got Sacred Sword, they're just unfamiliar with Pidgeot's typing. Flying does resist fighting, however, normal does take super effective, so Sacred Sword would definitely be the correct move to throw, as it would hit for neutral. Ty got the Wing Attack farm down, full sends a Brave Bird at Charizard, forcing a protection. We then pivot into Lugia. Ty now has a 2 to no shield advantage. We're going to respect the potential Blast Burn. The opponent bait us with a Dragon Claw. Ty continuing to farm up. This is only a Dragon Claw, which isn't going to do too much damage, so we see Ty save his protection. The opponent continuing to stay in. This time they do at least build up to a Blast Burn, and we see the shield deployed. Great shield from Ty. This should allow Lugia the full Dragon Tail farm down, which we get. We leave with the aeroblast, which is going to land for heavy damage. This is the hardest hitting move in the game, and you can see why. Giratina, incredibly bulky, but that does land for huge damage. Then pivot into Pidgeot, forcing the energy of the opponent. Again, this opponent very unfamiliar with typing. Shadow Sneak is double resisted, but as we're so low, it does knock out. But of course, they should have just thrown Dragon Claws. The opponent again throw yet another Shadow Sneak, which is actually triple resisted against Obstagoon. I'm just bambling at this stage. We fire off the resisted Hyper Beam and take that game. So these battles were played around 2100 ELO. If you're in that ELO range and thinking you can't climb, there's probably a reason behind it. It's either you're going to be unfamiliar with typings. If you'd like to learn your typings, just type in Pokemon Go typing resistances into Google and it'll bring up a chart for you. Another reason you could be struggling is your fast move timing. There's plenty of video tutorials on YouTube that you can have a look at. Returning to the commentary, the opponent made a very nice catch onto their Alolan Muck. However, Tai full sends the Hyper Beam their second time, vanquishing Muck back to their Pokeball. They then return with their Dragon Breath Giratina. Tai can survive one more Dragon Claw, however we will get Dragon Breath farm down afterwards. However, Obstagoon able to reach one further, departing Night Slash, which lands some decent super effective damage. We then pivot into Lugia, not wanting to get farmed down. Lugia, being a Psychic and Flying type, could be hit for super effective either the Shadow Sneak or Ancient Power, but this opponent actually opts just to throw the Dragon Claw. It looks like Ty's opting for the one shield farm all the way down. The opponent still has 2 Protect shields, so it's going to be quite difficult to land a nuke. Regardless of that, Tai full sends the aeroblast. The question is, does the opponent respect the damage? Aeroblast does indeed force a Protect shield on the opponent's final Pokemon, that is Empoleon. The opponent makes a huge mistake dumping energy here. If I was the opponent, I definitely would have opted for the full Waterfall farm down. We see Tai make a very nice catch of the next Hydro Cannon back onto the 1 HP Obstagoon. The opponent actually threw a Drill Peck. So again, there's plenty of points to note here. If you want to improve your gameplay, make sure you're always counting. Because after we threw the Aeroblast, Empoleon doesn't have anything to fear from Lugia, as all moves would be resisted, and at worst we would have only made a Sky Attack. Second point to note, if you're going to use Empoleon in neutral situations, you always want to throw Hydro Cannon, not Drill Peck, as it's better damage per energy. In the next battle, we see a fantastic lead. Obstagoon into Magnezone, the opponent safe switches into Charizard, and we respond with Pidgeot. Tai attempts to YOLO the Brave Bird, but loses CMP. The opponent bait us with a Dragon Claw, an easy tank for Pidgeot. We full send the Brave Bird lands, which is going to allow Pidgeot to get the full Wing Attack farm down. As we've lowered our defense by 3 stages, the opponent isn't going to get all that much farm. Tai this time opts to go for the Feather Dance, looking to force a debuff onto Magnezone. We now send back out Obstagoon. Feather Dance is one of the most annoying moves in the game. It actually lowers the opponent's attack by 2 stages. Speaking of debuffs, the opponent actually threw a Mirror Shot and debuffed us by 1 stage. Holy crap, this game's going to get very annoying very quickly. The opponent is 2 for 2 on Mirror Shot debuffs, which is only a 30% chance at RNG Gods. Very much smiling on this opponent. Tai actually manages to get the boost, which gives us a 2-stage attack buff, which means our counters and Hyper Beam are now neutral. Hyper Beam forces the opponent's final Protect shield, and we see the pivot into Lugia. Tai doesn't shield the first move in case the opponent gets the boost. They actually opt to throw the Hydro Cannon. I feel like this video has been me talking a lot of statistics, so here's another one. Both Hydro Cannon and Night Slash do exactly the same amount of damage in this matchup, whereas Night Slash has a 10% chance to boost and is 5 energy cheaper. So they should have went straight Night Slash all the way. Tai gets the Dragon Tail farm down, leaves with the Aeroblast. That is going to be huge overkill for the return in Magnezone. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see a Nightmare lead. We're going to see the instant pivot into Lugia, drawing out Swampert. Tai has a very good chance of flipping switch, as this is by no means a good matchup for this mud boy. Lugia will be able to tank 2 Hydro Cannons, and as we're a flying type, then mud shot and farming us down is going to be near impossible. Tai tanks the second Hydro Cannon. You can see we're in the red, but it's going to take about 1 bazillion mud shots to get rid of us. Tai over farms, fires off a Sky Attack, forces a Protect shield. Swampert is able to outpace to 1 more Hydro Cannon. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Protect shield here. Tai has other ideas. Instead, looking to send out Obstagoon. I imagine we're going to commit to the very aggressive counter farm down and try and Hyper Beam that Blaziken. The opponent fires off the first one. We withstand the damage. The issue here is if Tai did indeed tank this next Hydro Cannon, we're in danger of being sniped. So Tai opts to shield up the Hydro Cannon, gets the full counter farm down, leaves with the Hyper Beam. Please land. Please land. The opponent shows no respect. Get that Blaziken out of here. The opponent's final Pokemon is Decidueye, and that is going to be all she wrote. What a game. In the next battle, we see Jellicent in the lead. The opponent not a fan of that matchup and opt to send out Mandibuzz. Obstagoon, somewhat of a core breaker for this opponent. We tank the Aerial Ace. You already know Ty's going to full send the Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam, a very hard hitting move, but Mandibuzz is incredibly thick. Hyper Beam still lands for huge damage. Tai might be able to counter farm down Mandibuzz after landing that Hyper Beam. These Aerial Aces do come thick and fast, but despite Aerial Ace getting a buff, the move is still much more like Aerial Ace. They don't do all that much damage. Tai tanking Aerial Ace after Aerial Ace. We then opt to catch the next one onto Pidgeot, looking to get ahead in energy. I really like this pivot, as the opponent's unlikely to send back out Jellicent, so we may as well get ahead in energy for whatever they've got in the back. The opponent's third Pokemon is revealed to be Skeledirge, and once again we're full sending the Brave Bird. There's no shot. Brave Bird, oof, does force the shield. As Ty did get a run and start in energy, we can shield up this disarming voice and actually outpace to the next Brave Bird, and that's exactly what we see Ty do. Is the opponent willing to invest the final Protect Shield? No, they're not. Skeledirge is left on a sliver of HP. It's a pretty safe assumption that the opponent's going to spam the disarming voice, anticipating Obstagoon returning. So we send out Lugia, tank the disarming voice, we'll then combo back out into Obstagoon, and we're going to start firing off Night Slashes. Night Slash forces the Protect Shield. So of course you never want to shield the first Night Slash in case we get the boost. The next Night Slashes would of course do more damage. Ty still one Protect Shield, too high behind, not going to shield the Surf. Does Obstagoon survive? Yes it does, on a sliver of HP. The Hex is triple resisted, so we're able to survive. Fire off one further Night Slash, getting Jellicent down below half health. We now send back out Lugia. Ty looks to call the bait. What a call, and just like that, that is going to be all she wrote. The opponent isn't going to be able to reach a Surf and a Shadow Ball, so Ty's just going to shield up this next move. The opponent bait once again with a Surf, but we don't care. We get the Dragon Tail farm down and take that game. And that is going to draw to a close today's showcase. Huge shout out to Ty for yet another very fun showcase. I very much enjoyed shoutcasting all them big booms. If you also enjoy this content, I very much appreciate if you smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.